Welcome to another exciting edition of your number one talk show, City Talks with Reuben Abati, on your number one lifestyle station, City 1051 FM. On this show, we talk about stories of political and human interest that affect us as Nigerian citizens and as members of the global human community. Today, we'll be discussing the 2023 general elections. Specifically, we'll be talking about the jostling for the seat of the president. To guide us through this, it's a great pleasure to introduce human rights activist and presidential aspirant on the platform of the African Action Congress, AAC, Comrade Omoyele Sowore. Over the years, Omoyele Sowore has been a vocal voice in the defense of human rights in Nigeria. He's a pro-democracy campaigner and former presidential candidate under the umbrella of the African Action Congress in the 2019 general election. He's also the founder of an online news agency, Sahara Reporters. In 2019, Omoyele Sowore won the presidential ticket of the African Action Congress, and this time he will be contesting for the same position on the same platform in 2023. If you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700 105 1051 1051. And also leave a comment on our WhatsApp number 09099164403 and on our social media accounts at City 1051 on Zoom, Instagram, and Facebook. Omoyele Sowore will join us in a minute, but before then, let's take this quick break, and once he joins us, the conversation will continue.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.
Omoyele Sowore is now very much with us. Comrade Omoyele Sowore, thank you very much for joining us on City Talks with Reuben Abati. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for bringing me on your show on radio.
Thank you very much for agreeing to be my guest. Well, very quickly, again, you are throwing your heart into the ring. You are running for president of Nigeria, second time. You did so first time in 2019, and now again, you are in the race for 2023. Now, you have the opportunity to speak to Nigerians on our program. Why do you think Nigerians should vote for you?
Nigerians have seen it all. They have voted in different directions in the last 62 years. Most of the time, it was under military rule. But in the last 22 years in particular, starting from 1999, they voted for the same set of people that were largely also responsible for their misfortune between 1960 and 1999. Now it's time for them to vote for someone who have understood these problems, fought against some of the debilitating problems that confronted Nigeria, and has had a stellar career in ensuring that, one, when it was necessary, I put my life on the line to ensure we get what is most important to us, democracy. And after our democracy battered in 1999, I left to improve myself, both physically, mentally, and scientifically, spending 20 years in the diaspora. And in the process, created checks and balances, participated in some of the most important battles in the life of Nigeria, and ensuring that that democratic process that was resumed again in 1999 is on track. So you're talking to someone who knows a lot of these problems, who know all the characters, and who has figured out how to solve the problems confronting Nigeria, to the point that when I first ran, my ideas became so powerful, they were either absolutely plagiarized or stolen by my opponents. When the election was over, they were so scared of the continuation of my campaign to see a better country that they threw me into jail for months, and eventually restricted me to Abuja now for 3 years. So I am not just here standing in front of you without a CV, without a pedigree. I'm sitting right in front of you right now. I'm not standing. I'm sitting right in front of you, able to discuss and tell you how to confront all these problems because I know where they came from and I definitely know how they can be solved. And I have spoken to them very eloquently. I have fought over them physically, and I have been developing strategies on how we can solve these problems in ways that nobody has been able to speak to since the advent of democracy, I'll say again, in 1999.
In 2019, your campaign slogan was Take It Back Movement, Take Back Our Country. This time around, your campaign slogan is We Can't Continue Like This. What is it that we shouldn't continue with? Are you calling for a revolution still? Are you asking for some kind of change in Nigeria? And what will be those specific things that you think cannot continue? Because definitely, President Muhammadu Buhari, whom you criticize a lot, is not likely to continue in office in 2023. And he has made that very clear that he's not seeking a third term. What are the issues?
Well, I am very much on the part of revolutionary transformation. And I've never denied it, and I'll keep saying it. This was what sent me to jail in 2019 and had restricted me to the city. But what we can't continue with completely every facet of our national life. We can no longer continue with the insecurity that we are confronted with on the scale that it is now. We can't continue with the lack of power, energy, electricity. We can't continue with unemployment. We can't continue with the lack of healthcare system in the country that's made it impossible for even the leaders of the country to enter a Nigerian hospital to treat an ear infection. We can't continue with the state of our infrastructure, which has completely decayed. We can't continue with an educational system in which schools are closed down because of minor disagreement between government and lecturers, because people in government don't send their children to school here. We cannot continue with the lack of water, the lack of purposeful leadership. We can't continue with everything that ought to come to us. And that is the reason why that slogan was invented this time around. And guess what? Just last week, I was reading from Bukola Saraki. He's starting to adopt that mantra as part of his campaign mantra. And we sent a message to him that they should not abuse our mantra, even though nobody has a copyright to a battle cry. But all of them have come to that realization. But most importantly, the people of Nigeria have come to a junction where they cannot continue with Buhari. And mentioning with Buhari is not about Buhari alone. We are talking about his policies, the policies of his political party, and the other political party, the PDP, who are now in charge of the APC. This is to show to you that they are not different in both color and character, Doctor.
Well, many of your critics say they observe that, yes, whereas you are a popular rights activist, looking at your record, you have never worked in the public sector. And that public sector experience may be needed to deal with some of these big issues that you think Nigerians need to deal with. Banditry in the Northwest, terrorism in the Northeast, kidnapping in other regions. And they are wondering that, look, nobody can run Nigeria at the level of students' unionism that is bigger than students' unionism, a luta continua, and political rhetoric. Do you share the view of your critics? Although I don't expect you to.
No, I don't. And I say to them, Father, forgive them because they don't know what they're saying. And I'm not making a religious inference here. I'm just saying it as a general saying. If these claims were to be true, Nigeria should be El Dorado by now, because people who claim to have experience in public sector are the ones who have run Nigeria to the ground, including the civil servants who have been there for years, some of them as far back as the 70s, adjusting their age so that they don't retire. Well, let's look at President Muhammadu Buhari, for instance. You would have thought that somebody who was one time a petroleum minister, who was a governor of a state, actually about 3 states as it is now. He used to govern Gongola State. Somebody who has managed a slush fund known as the PDF, PTDF in those days, Petroleum Trust Development Fund. You would think that his public sector experience would have turned Nigeria around. But what did it give you? This Nigeria that you cannot even be proud of today. The same thing happened to President Olusegun Obasanjo. He was former head of state. He was a manager of a big NGO dealing with Africa. He became president again in 1999. What did he give you? Nothing. You talk about your former boss, Goodluck Jonathan, who used to be a deputy governor, used to be a custom officer, and he was president for 6 years. What did his public sector experience give you? Nothing. They broke Nigeria, and we're saying that Nigeria is in need of a visionary, somebody whose vision can carry this country into decent future, not the one that is governed by people who have no CV without character, who have big CV without commitment, men with eyes without vision. That is what we are talking about. And nations all over the world are voting for men of vision, not men of with massive curriculum vitae. Vitae. This is happening in France. You remember in Chile, a former student union president, 35-year-old boy, was just voted as president of Chile. And they are not saying, oh, he was a student union leader. And what is wrong with being a former student union leader when you are a student union leader, not of the types that we have now, who deliver the most important human needs to your country? One of them, democracy. So when we were fighting for democracy, it wasn't bad to be a student union leader in those days. When we were fighting against third term, it wasn't bad to use student union tactics. But it is now that we need to govern our country in the proper and right way that it suddenly became a crime to be a former student union leader. But it's the same former student union leader that created a website in this country that helped, shape media. It's the same former union leader that has proposed solutions that the former public sector officials are plagiarizing and stealing and using as part of their campaign and as part of their governance policy processes. So you can see that the difference is clear between this, big experienced, former leaders in the public sector and myself, a man of public and private vision who wants to drive this country in the right direction.
Okay, the economy is going to be a major challenge for whoever becomes the next president of Nigeria. Unemployment rate is over 15%. The foreign exchange regime is upside down. There is massive disinvestment in the country because many people don't want to come and invest in an economy where they are not even sure of anything. And capital income tax is over 32%, the highest anywhere in the world. And then, of course, you just have to create opportunities for people within the economy. Now, if you were in President Muhammadu Buhari's shoes, what will you do differently? Because the strongest message many people say they hear from you is that you want to use cannabis to jumpstart the economy. And some people say your plan is to turn Nigeria into a smoking joint.
Doctor, that's a funny one because you like the cannabis thing very much. I remember having that conversation with you in 2018. But here we are in 2022, and that cannabis that I was mocked about is now driving the economy of the world. Canada is one of the biggest beneficiary of the cannabis industry that is blossoming. The US finally got rid of the anti-cannabis laws, and they are going to reap over $100 billion from licensing alone. But the issue is not cannabis today. The issue is jumpstarting the Nigerian economy using Nigerian resources in a way that is fair, just, and equitable. You are talking about President Buhari's shoes. I don't want to be in his shoes. I don't use this type of shoes. I don't even know if the man wears shoes in the sense that you are using it. We are talking about how what we have can be invested in the country in such a way that people who are citizens of Nigeria would love to live in Nigeria and not prefer to die in the Mediterranean Sea. How do we start this? Invest first and foremost at home. I have said it before that Nigeria is not spending Nigerian resources on Nigeria. There is massive capital flights because people, even those who are governing Nigeria, don't believe in Nigeria to the point that when it is time for them to build houses, they go to Dubai to buy finished products. When it is time for them to invest even in stocks, they don't invest in the Nigerian markets. When it is time for them to send their children to school, they don't invest in our education. When it is time for them to go to hospital, they don't invest in our hospitals. But here is the most important thing. How do you expect people to invest in your country when someone cannot travel from his home to school, a child, without the fear of the child getting kidnapped or being used by rituals? How do you expect people to invest in your country when you don't have electricity? I said it, and this is not cannabis, doctor, that Nigeria needs to move from its miserable 7,000 or 1,500 megawatts of electricity to 24,000 immediately within 2 to 3 years period, 4 years period of coming to office. That we immediately hook up over 20 to 30 million homes, and businesses, small businesses will start blossoming immediately if you get electricity right. What is happening today is such that anybody who wants to compete globally as a business cannot do business from Nigeria. They would rather go to Ghana or go to a neighboring country, even Benin Republic, to do the business because things work in those places. First and foremost, you have to make things work. And to provide employment, you must create an opportunity for people to get jobs. I have said it, and I'm repeating it here, and I know they will steal the idea again, that there is no way you can start a public sector or a private sector functioning again without turning Nigeria into a construction site where everybody is put to work, where agriculture is not done by the sedentary system, where you do rotational farming and you are still using machetes and you are using cows to drag plows. Whereas governors of states travel on these arable lands with 56 SUVs in their convoys. Those SUVs should be tractors. So I'm just giving you some of the few examples. And then you retain what you have in the country by ensuring that you do what I said I would do about corruption, intelligence, ensuring that before people even steal, we find it out. We ensure that we digitize our budgeting system, our contracting system, and we ensure that before money move out of the country, we stop it, and then we can then rely on enforcement, not this dramatic enforcement of anti-corruption where people are clamped into jail, their names released to the media, and then at the end of the day, their trial takes more than 20 years to hold. That's a joke. So without having a combination of all this, security, power, infrastructure, investment in education, health, agriculture, and technology, you are wasting your time. So it's not about cannabis. Cannabis is an added advantage, because I will not fail to tell you that our people in Ondo State, where I come from, grow some very good cannabis. And after I talked about it in 2019 and 2019 on your show, the governor of Ondo State traveled to another country to go and find out whether they can bring a cannabis refinery to Ondo State, because I opened his eyes. And several other persons have now gone to the National Assembly to sponsor a bill to legalize marijuana. But the NDLA is still burning weeds, 1.5 trillion naira worth of weeds. What is our budget? We have 10 trillion naira budget. If you can make 1.5 trillion naira of that from weed, it's added advantage to you, and it's medicinal. People are looking for the product. Why burn it? Except what Fela says that now bomb, now in the Sweden pass.
Okay, quickly, let's talk about power, because you mentioned electricity. Do you have a blueprint, a step-by-step approach, process by which you plan to address the problem of electricity supply in Nigeria? The national grid is perpetually collapsing. In the last 1 month now, it has collapsed up to about 6 times, with a lot of hardship for people, with the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria complaining that there is no diesel. Even electricity is not available. The cost of doing business is so high. So what is that magic that you would do if you were president of Nigeria to at least ensure that there is steady electricity supply? You said it could be done in two years, Well, some people promise 6 months. They've not been able to do it.
Well, I'm not the people who promised 6 months. And there were people who also invested $16 billion in darkness. That was a PDP. And the APC couldn't do it because they had no idea how to achieve it. But here is what is the problem. And I'm not going to give you my blueprint because I know you're a politician too, so that you don't go and show it to your friends. So here it is. I'll tell you some of it. There are almost 6 to 7 power stations, newly built, some of them refurbished, that are without gas. Gas is a very essential commodity for firing them, but they are not being provided with gas. One, partially was because when they were building some of the plants, they never provided for gas pipelines that would supply them with gas. So you had to practically be driving dry gas to power them, and when they run out of gas, then there is no power. Geregu is there, and Afam, there's Omotosho, it's the same as Papaland. So several of these gas plants are not working because you are relying on a product that you've not made any provision for it to get there. But here is what I said, and I would advise that you keep to yourself. I know we're in the public domain. You don't usually have to need electricity to be taken from Niger Delta to Kano, when you can create a solar farm in Kano, in Kaduna, in Borno. Even when we get our security rights, the so-called Sambisa forest should be converted to a solar farm that could easily generate nothing less than 4,500 to 5,000 megawatts of electricity. And this is not rocket science anymore. People are growing electricity on their roofs today in Nigeria, but we don't make them. So that the northern part of Nigeria can be provided with electricity through solar. The south can be provided with electricity through gas, especially the south region of Nigeria. But we can also provide a lot of electricity through hydroelectric sources, water. We can provide electricity through dung of cows that are roaming around our country if we do proper ranching. That dung, the cow sheets, excuse my language, can be used and converted to electricity that can easily give you 1,500 megawatts of electricity. But nobody is doing all this because those who are invested in providing electricity are also the ones importing generator. They make more profit from importing generator from giving Nigerians electricity. You have coal. Coal is one of the biggest sources of electrical sources in the US. And we have coal mines in the southeastern part of the country, in Enugu in particular, that's been abandoned for years. I am not a big fan of coal because it's not the cleanest way of providing electricity, but we can use that as well. So there are several sources, including biogas, plants, maize, and all that can be converted to electricity these days. And nobody's thinking about that. But another thing that people have not even thought about, which I'm not hearing much about, is that you can also, encourage individuals to have small electrical plants and sell into the national grid. The same way we liberalize our mobile phone technology, that everybody can sell. You can just buy the license and create your own. So they need to completely unbundle the electrical system in such a way that you don't have to pump into the national grid. You can be a region and just have your own electrical plant and have electricity in your own part of the world. In fact, the people we sold electricity to, the electricity companies to, for scrap, are doing some of that. There are estates in Lagos now that if you pay the electricity company a certain amount, the electricity will be stable. You will always have lights because you are paying premium price. So, but as I keep saying, and I'll repeat it anywhere, there is no way these analog brain leaders, some of them who are planning to come back now, can give you electricity. The only thing they know how to give people is darkness. They have no idea how to do it. And I'll give an example, is Lagos State. Under Ahmed Tinubu, you have heard about Aaron. They brought a badge to Lagos that never delivered electricity because they were more interested in the profit that they will get. There was a time they went and bought, this is not electricity related, they went and bought a dying hotel on the water and brought it to Lagos. The thing has sunk now. This is, their priorities are different from those of the people. And until we vote them out, we will be so shocked when we vote these guys out, how easy it is to bring about electricity, because electricity is no longer electricity of 1955. It's no longer rocket science. It's the same thing with refining fuel. As we speak now, Niger Delta militants are the almost biggest producer of diesel. We know that they claim that they are stealing crude. How is it that these Niger Delta militants who are refining crude can do it, and the federal government cannot repair its refineries? The federal government can go shamelessly to go and commission Dangote's refinery. They claim is the biggest in the world, giving him all the necessary tax breaks, giving him dollars at rates that is not available to the public. But the federal government itself cannot build a refinery since Dangote started his own around 2012, because they are not working for the Nigerian people. So these are our ways of speaking to it. But with regards to blueprints, it's not yet out, because we won't release it to the people who will take it, run with it, and still do nothing with it.
Well, Sowore, you sounded like you were dismissive of reports that massive oil theft is a major threat to Nigeria's revenue. But the truth of the matter is that it is real. Those who should know, Tony Elumelu, chairman of Hess Oil and Gas, Austin Avuru, former managing director of Seplat, Mele Kyari, group managing director of NNPC, engineer Gbenga Komolafe, the head of the Nigerian National Upstream Regulatory Authority, have all confirmed this in terms of how much has been lost within 3 months alone, running into billions of money that could be otherwise used to fund education and all of that. Now, if you were president of Nigeria, what would you do to stop crude oil theft? Because that's a big elephant in the room. And as someone who comes from an oil-bearing community in Ondo State, this should be of interest to you, rather than supporting people who steal our oil, more or less, by saying they are so creative.
Yes. Well, I'm not supporting people who are stealing crude. I am saying that they got to a point where it was convenient to steal crude because there's official collusion. And I'm not dismissive of it either. The crude theft you're talking about is usually officially stolen. In fact, you are talking about the crude theft in Nigeria, but you have forgotten, and this is also public, the crude theft aided by NNPC, who sell out crude or who move out crude out of this country. And at a point, a port in the US, Philadelphia, I think, reported back that over 120 million barrels of crude oil were shipped to them without documentation. This is true story. There's another report involving the shipping of crude to China that was undocumented. They ran into millions of barrels of crude. The current GMD of NNPC, Mele Kyari, was indicted in that report. So when we are talking about theft, let's address it holistically. It's not the Niger Delta militants alone that are stealing crude. It involves all of the Nigerian leadership, including those in the military, particularly in the Navy and the Army. Because there is no way you can tell me that people will just walk into Nigeria with tanks on the sea and drive out of Nigeria thousands and thousands of barrels of crude oil and nobody knows about it. We all know that there's official collusion in this area. And you said, I addressed at the beginning of this conversation, that in getting Nigeria back on track, security was a major thing. And part of the security I'm talking about is national security. National security to the extent that all these issues we are talking about must be addressed within the context of national security. That somebody cannot just drive a massive barge into Nigeria and just walk out of Nigeria with crude, barrels of crude without explanation. So without overhauling the national security architecture of Nigeria, we're also still deceiving ourselves. These guys are crying out now because it affects them directly. In fact, I was quite surprised that Tony Elumelu became an activist overnight. And I'm surprised also that he has not deleted his tweets talking about what is going on with massive theft of oil. It is because he himself has an oil and gas company that is now directly affected. If it was affecting me, he probably not care. This is part of the general national selfishness with the elites in the country. So now we have come to the agreement that we are bleeding in the oil sector. But we must also come to an agreement that we are bleeding in the Northeast as a result of official collusion, as a result of military officers, police officers not doing their job, and not having a commander-in-chief who has the grip of the security situation in the country, who doesn't care about it at all. So all of this cannot be addressed without the commander-in-chief who is interested in ensuring the country is secured at the level of national security. But it's also important that security is not limited to national security, arresting people and detaining them alone. There has to also be social security, because all these young people that are engaged in some of these crimes also need to be given what they deserve. They need to be sent to school, they need to be given employment, so that they no longer find crime to be very attractive. And when they continue to do so, that there are consequences for it. But again, to clarify, I'm not dismissing oil theft. I frown at all kinds of theft, including the theft against the national treasury.
Okay, Sowore, in a matter of minutes, I'm going to open up the lines here so that we can have other people contribute to the conversation. But quickly, let me ask you, are you in any way worried or threatened by any aspirant, particularly those from the ruling party and the main opposition, PDP? Because these are guys that are heavily loaded and they can deploy funds. But I see that you have started a political action committee asking for contributions. But some guys can just give out 1 billion, just like that. They can give out any amount of money to be president. They are not going your way of asking for cover from people who believe in the project. Do you feel threatened that these guys have the war chest that you probably don't have?
No, not at all. In 2018 and 2019, when I contested, I raised money transparently. And I remember coming to your show when the elections were over, and you asked me, have you explained how you spent this money? And I did. A lot of people were shocked. I was the only candidate that published how money was received and spent. And I only raised about 200 million naira at that time. But guess what? They were so scared of that 200 million billionaires that they started moving around and ensuring that I don't get air coverage. I don't, the mainstream media completely, in most cases, ignored me. I remember apart from your show, and I'm not saying that to patronize you, where we made appearances about 4 times the entire election time. No other TV gave us much airtime. Channels maybe 3 times, NTA once, and they asked me never to come back. TVC, they told me outrightly after twice that please don't come near this place again. Only Nigeria Info and Wazobia gave us a little bit more airtime. When it was time to debate, they did not allow me to debate. I wanted badly to debate these guys. I wanted to debate Buhari, Atiku. They removed me from the debate, even though the poll they conducted that led to so-called the selection of those people that participated in the debate showed that in some markets in the Nigerian political system, I was doing better than Buhari and Atiku. And in some markets, I was coming second. In some markets, I came third. But there was never a time I was more than third, as they did their polling. And, they came to the conclusion that I was the third most respected candidate because of the way I was talking about issues and the fact that I traveled the most, traveling to 34 states in Nigeria. I didn't go to Borno and Yobe because the police would not give us security even though we applied for it. But I traveled everywhere. Some places I went twice, and people came out and listened to me, and that got them scared. So if I scared them with 200 million naira, people who are spending billions of, I would say even dollars in some cases. Why would I be afraid this time around? And you said that I'm asking for kobo. The system that I initiated in 2018 has now been copied by two of your friends. Dele Momodu is crowdfunding, good friend of yours. Peter Obi is crowdfunding. Why is it that suddenly my style of raising funds became attractive to them? Whereas it's the first time anybody did it at the presidential level in 2019. Now all of them are copying the style of crowdfunding, through both home and abroad. So it shows to you that there's a lot of creativity that they've seen in the way I campaign and raise funds for my activities that they are copying. As we are speaking now, they are watching our show meticulously. By tomorrow, they will be speaking to some of the issues I raised here, stealing my ideas but not giving me credit for it. But that's not the issue. With regards to funding, if, and I mean it, if 1 million Nigerians who are, most of them are watching today, if 1 million Nigerians decide to give a candidate 10,000 naira each, no candidate can defeat that person in terms of funding. The reason is that those 1 million Nigerians, when they donate 10,000 naira each, they will see it as an investment they must protect. They will make sure that they rally around that their 10,000 naira and ensure that the candidate that got that money is supported with whatever else they have beyond just that money. But you multiply 10,000 naira by 1 million Nigerians. Let's see who will wait for us, because they will be all out. And that is what I was bringing to the table by using crowdfunding as a way of raising funds for my campaigns. My campaigns are not campaigns for my individual self. It's about fixing Nigeria. And some of the people who are donating money also have ideas that they contribute with the money. Because each time they give you money, they will write a comment if it's online. If it's not online, they write a comment to you, even with their checkbooks online, saying, Sowore, I'm the one who gave you this money. I want you to fix so thing. So this has been the best way to raise funds transparently in a way that the public can own their leaders. But when you allow special interests to just walk into a dark room, donate billions of naira and dollars, then you are wondering why your president doesn't work for you when he's sworn into office after the elections or selections, as the case may be. So mine is to transparently come out there, raise funds from the people, let them own the campaign, ask questions, and ask me to do what they want me to do because it's their money that I'm using in my campaign. And I believe that Nigerians can defeat the money bags and special interests by donating into my campaign. And already, by the way, we've started raising funds, not a lot of money. We've raised over 1.3 million naira in the last 3 days. Not a bad idea. It's a sign that there's faith in our style of reaching out to the talakawas. And I know that when I was growing up, my parents were contributing money. They had a small card to the UPN because they were Aways. And this has always been the way politics is done. Look at Obama. Most of the money he got in his 2 terms as president of the US were gotten from ordinary people. I donated $250 to the Obama campaign in the US, even though I wasn't a citizen, but I was allowed to donate as a green card holder. And that was where most of his money came from, not from this special interest that has already hijacked the country. And if we want to keep letting the special interests take care of our country, well, good luck. Let them be using backdoor to fund candidates that will never do well for the Nigerian people.
Okay. At this point, Sowore, I think we should throw the conversation open, although I still have about 4 questions, but we need to get other people onto this conversation. Remember, if you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700 1051 1051 and on WhatsApp 090 9916443, and on our social media accounts at City1051 on Zoom, Instagram, and Facebook. Well, I see that someone is already on the line.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Reuben Abati.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Our guest is Omoyole Sowore.
Yeah, it is from Tongo.
Yes.
Well, I want to this Sowore again. Well, I want to say that what is he going to do? The power block in the north, especially with Sani and the outer power block, which is penetrate them. Because what I'm saying is that it's not in Lagos or in wherever in Abuja or in Ondo where you came from. The different ballgame entirely arguments of politics. And I'm not sure you are not a politician because of the love you have for Nigeria. So I need to break that barrier, especially in the northern part, because they have a lot of things. They are listening to their lives. They listen to their people, especially the politicians who are core politicians. So are you going to break that power block? Excellent. Thank you.
Sowore, you heard him?
Yes, he was talking about the North as a power block and how to break into the North.
That's it, yeah.
Yes. What is interesting was that in 2019, I traveled extensively in the North. And one of the mistakes we make about the North is that we think that the North is completely in the hands of certain power brokers. It's not true. The second is that most people think that Northerners are not politically aware or educated. It's not true. They actually listen more to, they tune into political news probably more than any part of Nigeria I've seen without their transistor radio. To the point that even their cell phones or mobile phones must have a transistor radio dimension to it for them to find it attractive. They know what is going on. The North understand or by now understood that voting for Buhari was a mistake. And they are the ones that are suffering, right? And the northern part of Nigeria is the most afflicted by the Buhari regime. When I was contesting in 2019, we were afraid when we were driving towards Buhari's hometown at about 8 p.m. that maybe they will attack us. But we were surprised to see that young people there embraced us and even accompanying us to the city gates, where we traveled then to Katsina very late that night. They said that the man has nothing to offer, but yet what they did in 2019 was to package him and bring him back into office. The North at this point understood completely that they too need to move in a different direction. It is the North that is suffering the affliction of banditry at this time. They are suffering the affliction of poverty. They are suffering the affliction of terrorism. They are suffering the affliction of lack of education for their kids. Health, it is the North that is suffering the most. When COVID came to Nigeria, it was the northern part of Nigeria, during COVID, that suffered the most. In one day in Kano, over 600 people died of COVID in Kano. But it was covered up because their leaders, some of their leaders didn't want them to, don't want people to care about them. And they now understand. So don't forget that I spent my 1 year national service in Yola, Adamawa State, in 1995, between 1995 and 1996, when Abacha was in power. And I realized that Northerners were not supporting Abacha as we thought in the South. So why you think it is need to break into the North, which I believe is going to be easier this time around, it's also important to let us find out how we break into the South as well. Because Lagos is almost completely enslaved. And how do you also break that enslavement in a place like Lagos? The same way we need it in the North. We need it in Lagos. We need it in the South. We need it in the South-South. And I'm sure that a lot of these young people, particularly, and other persons are listening to me today, and they've been listening to me for a while. That is why they don't like me to have the freedom other people enjoy to get out there. Please understand that there's no big deal about these people. They can be defeated, and we must defeat them this time around, and we must do it by appealing and reaching out to everybody, both North and South. To answer your question once again, the North is ready for a revolution. They can't continue like this also.
Hello? Okay, Mr. Reuben, thank you so much. Let me ask the Sowore brother there. in Ondo State.
I can't hear that person. I don't know if you're hearing him.
Let us say the truth. Can we win a local government in Ondo State? Look, we should tell ourselves the truth. I expect Sowore to start from maybe House of Assembly election or the local government or even the senator if he has the capacity. He shouldn't look. We should tell ourselves the truth. Nigerian is not a somebody like Sowore that you cannot win a local government in Ondo State. That is the fact. You're telling the Nigerian that Lagos State Tinubu messed up with the Aram. Aram's power station is still working today, till tomorrow. In Lagos here, you can do your finding and tell Nigerian the truth. My brother, go and start from either House of Assembly election or local government. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you, Sowore. Your response to that?
No, I appreciate and support free speech. That's what I've done my entire life. And this person is at liberty to freely say where people should go and start. But when people have vision, they start from where their vision can carry them or where the vision should go to. There are people who feel like their entire destiny is not more than a class captain. They are free to stay with being class captains. There are people who are comfortable with being a street leader. They have liberty to do it. And there are people who feel like they can only succeed as a House of Assembly member. They are free to stay at the House of Assembly. There are people who want to be senators, and that's all their mission and vision is interested in. They are free to be there. I am not contesting for the local government chairman of my state. Everybody knows that by now. So coming on radio to advise me to go there is of no use. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help me. The Tinubu you are talking about, which local government did he contest for before he became governor of Lagos State? If we are to go by your logic, it means that Buhari should have started from one local government, then go to state assembly, and from there go to become governor, and then from governor become House of Rep, from House of Rep become senator before he can become president. But the truth is that when you people say this, I understand what you are trying to say. You have candidates for presidency that you are not proud of, and you don't want to say it publicly. So you are looking for very brilliant young people who can do the job to lead the road for these liquidated political godfathers that you worship. I do not genuflect on the altars of fallen gods. Never. This is my vision. My vision is for Nigeria and the whole of Africa. I cannot tunnel the vision to a local government. A local government cannot contain me. It will be a disservice to humanity if someone who can save a nation directs himself to go and work in a local government. I grew up in a local rural area, and I'll use this as an example for you. I grew up in Kiribo. It still hasn't had electricity till today. It has 40 internet once in a while. That's where I grew up. It's still like that in Ondo State, southern part of Ondo State. But my vision as a child, who was a fisherman, who went to a secondary school built by Awolowo in 1980, took me to New York. I attended one of the best universities in the US, Columbia University, one of the 10 best. It's an Ivy League, where I did my master's. And from there, I created a global company in the city of New York, Sahara Reporters, and in Sahara Reporters Media Group, and is known worldwide. If I had stayed in my village and said that because I was born in Kribo, I must be a palm wine tapper, and after graduating as a palm wine tapper, I must become a fisherman. After I become a fisherman, I must now go and start somewhere in Igbokoda. And after finishing in Igbokoda, I must now stay in Okitipupa and go to Akure once in a while. You know that the world would have been robbed of my innovation, which have assisted information dissemination today. So I don't quarrel with you. I wish you the best with how far you think you can go. I understand what I've done to Nigerians. Nigerians have been robbed of their dignity to the point that they look at themselves and say, I can't become anybody, so I'll just stay where I am. And anybody who tries to become somebody will play the crab in the basket mentality. Let us drag them down. It's not necessary. Let everybody live and work according to their vision.
Sure. Well,
Yes.
I see many hands up on Zoom, and I think it would be only fair to take some of the persons who would like to say something. I see many comments. The comments still keep coming in, but let's take some of the people whose hands are up. Engineer, if you could have Dr. Boniface Chizia. Dr. Chizia, please go ahead and make your point as quickly as possible. Dr. Boniface Chizia, please.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Reuben. Thank you, Sowore. Well, I think that what I want to do is to play devil's advocate. I see you as a young man. I admire your guts. I didn't have guts. And you have ideas, you're knowledgeable, you're a digital age person. And but I have some concerns. I think that you are projected in the light of an agitator, an activist, and so on and so forth. Governance is beyond that. Governance is not agitation, it's not activism, and so on and so forth. For you to govern and govern people appropriately, you must learn the act of human relationships and so on, how to manage differences and then achieve. There must be some give and take. So people see you and say, look, beyond this agitation, even this man is put in governance, he's going to protest against himself. So you have that as a challenge. And then the other point is, well, I don't know to what extent now that we're going to do digital transmission of results and so on. What structures do you have on ground? So do you have structures? Will the structures still count? So these are some of the challenges I see, before you. So you don't have structures. And then also, there was talk about antecedents, So, if you take Peter Obi, for instance, say he's been a governor in Anambra State. So he's managed, managing the public space, as sure it's not the same thing as managing the protest. So people are looking for experience. So what can you build on that? So
Thank you, Dr. Chizia. Sowore, before you respond, let's also invite another person so that you take those two comments together. Samuel Dada, please. Can we have Samuel Dada next? I see your hand up here. Please keep it brief.
Yes. Okay, thank you, sir. Mine is not even a comment. I just want to commend you, sir, Mr. Reuben Abati.
Thank you.
Because I have to tell you what my mind, Sowore know this very well. I was thinking maybe you'll be objecting Sowore at every point he's giving his intervention. So thank God that you were not interjecting him, because we need to say the truth. Because before the meeting, there was a madam there that was telling you that we should caution Sowore so that they will take your lancet. I think we have grown out of fear. Nigeria is at war. So you guys who are doing your best, your journalists, you need to help us so that the younger generations will learn from you. You're a great man. I read your papers in those days, in the 90s, early 90s. So I would love you to do more of this. Thank you so much for what you are doing. And Sowore, kudos to you and everyone out there listening to us. Please, let's work hand in gloves and save our lives. Thank you very much.
Okay, Sowore, your response briefly, because I would still like to take one or two more persons.
Yes.
Even the dashboard here is blinking.
I want to respond to Dr. Chizia about my being an agitator. I think people have dispositions. People have things they believe in, and they have speed at which they think they should happen. And there's nothing wrong with being an agitator. Mandela was an agitator. Obama was an agitator. Obama was, in fact, known as a community organizer, which, in fact, were to rate in the order of agitators. Obama will be my junior in the agitation world, because I've been a national organizer, I've been in international struggles. There's nothing wrong with being an agitator. As to whether we protest against myself, not a bad idea. It shows that I have conscience. If I'm doing something wrong and I protest against it, if necessary. But here is what I'll say. I think what I'm hearing is that, you're talking about Peter Obi. And Peter Obi has been touted as someone who is capable. But I have a simple question for any one of you who talks about Peter Obi. I want you to show me one hospital Peter Obi built in Anambra that we can take a governor to go and be treated if they are sick, or anybody in Anambra. I want you to show me one university that Peter Obi funded that became a world-class university. Never heard of it. I want you to show me some 100 kilometers of roads that Peter Obi built in Anambra State that you can take me to and I can drive on it with my eyes closed. Never seen one. Peter Obi is high, and I'm not saying it to denigrate his person. I'm just saying as a governor, he didn't do any of the things you ascribe to him. I think because he has this very deceptive face, people just think that Peter Obi is not like the rest of them. I know Peter Obi a little bit, but that's not the conversation for today. I'm talking about myself and Peter Obi. Any experience that you have had with any person in government that you cannot point to their achievement is not something you can demonstrate in public. It's the same way I say about the vice president, Yemi Oshiba. Some people like him because he's a pastor and they like pastors in this country. But I've been telling, as a pastor and a man of conscience, what has he done to stop all the problems afflicting Nigeria today? Nothing. And don't get me wrong. I know Professor Oshiba, as far back as the 90s when we were fighting the military, he used to have an office in front of Yaba bus stop. We used to meet. Then he was more vibrant than he is today as vice president in Nigeria. That shows to you that some of these people are not real and genuine. But again, when it comes to agitating for what is right, I will guarantee you that I will keep doing that. So if I'm doing something wrong, you'll trust me, I will protest against myself if it's not in the interest of the people. And sometimes the protest might be resignation. If I cannot continue as the president of Nigeria to provide things I promised you before the end of the first 4 years, I will resign. And you can take that to the bank today as a matter of a collateral for the loan that I'm taking from you to vote for me.
Okay, let me just take this caller on the line and then a few comments and then we'll wrap it up. Please go ahead. Your name, your location.
So, I just called back. Can I continue?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, I want to say that you see, when people you are coming to protest an election or you want us to vote for you, one of the things I want to advise that rubbishing policies of other people is not the best. All I expected is, yes, I know because you are an activist. You don't do that. Because when you begin to rubbish their own, then what do you think people will look at you? They will think it is not possible that you should be willing to rubbish other people's what they have done so far. That is number one. Number two, what are you going to do differently from the oil producing areas because of what they are going through today? Look at the village and everywhere. So what are you going to do when you are going to get president of this country?
Point well made. Quickly, let's take a few comments. This is Adeboyega Adedeji from WhatsApp. He says, is it that Nigerians don't understand the angle from which Sowore is coming when he used the word revolution, or that they are not ready for it? Because many Nigerians and many government propagandists scared Nigerians with this word revolution, leading to many interpretations. Because I believe we need revolution in every aspect of our lives in this country. That is when we'll be able to breathe well and be proud of our country. Adeboyega Adedeji. And having done that, let me invite Anayo to quickly make his comment. Please keep it very brief. We're about to close the program. Anayo, please. I see your hand up. Please be brief. Hello, engineer. Is Anayo with us?
Good morning.
Yes, good
it's
afternoon.
A pleasure, Mr. Reuben.
Yes, thank
Dr.
you for
Reuben,
joining
I don't want to make that mistake. Sowore. So you don't get fired.
That's a smart one.
If you don't get it, forget it.
Please carry on.
If you don't get it, forget it. Sowore, you've been fighting and been involved in fighting the past government, including the former government, like President Jonathan. With the battle with your past battle, are you comfortable with what Nigerians are facing? And have you apologized to Nigerians? Because most of us followed you and make sure the past government are no more there. You mentioned Peter Obi not doing anything. Are you also comfortable that the president just signed in 12 universities. Why the president's universities are on strike? Thank you.
Okay, Sowore, over to you.
Yes, I will take the issue of apology because that's one I hear all the time. Why haven't you apologized to? I think I deserve an apology too for fighting for Jonathan during Yar'Adua's period when he was denied a position as president when Yar'Adua Kaba held him to ransom. So somebody should come and ask me to apologize to the Yar'Adua family too, considering that Jonathan did not do well. You should also come and ask me to apologize to Babangida in 1992 when we confronted him and forced him out of power, or ask me to go and apologize to Abacha for fighting for that many years, or ask me to go and apologize to Obasanjo because we didn't allow him a third term, which some Nigerians swore would have been better than Yar'Adua's tenure and Jonathan's tenure. So we confuse sacrifice with sometimes the little we know about individuals in the public space. I have no apologies for doing what is right at the appropriate time. And that's what I've always done for the last 32 years, is standing up for what is right in my own country. So if you want to get an idea of what I'm talking about, you can go to my page and watch what Femi Falana said regarding this, because I know we don't have time now to address that. But having said that, I think the person who deserves the most apology is myself for suffering so much for this country when I gain nothing for it, except that I'm satisfied, completely satisfied that I do what is right.
Okay, well, there's someone whose hand is also up here. Edafe Iwiwihu. Edafe Iwiwihu, if you could just quickly make your point. Please keep it brief. We're trying to wrap up now. Edafe? Is it there? Okay, if it's not there, let's take Ololade.
I'm here, please.
Okay, yeah, please go ahead, and quickly too, yes.
Yeah, so thank you very much for all you have been doing. And Dr. Reuben, thank you very much for putting up this show. You've not interrupted Sowore so far, and you've done a very professional job. Thank you very much. Sorry, one of the biggest problems we have in Nigeria is our system of government. We say we are practicing federal system, but it's not federal. It's just a unitary system. Everything centered around the center. How are you going to break away from that system? Because even if you bring an angel down to come and rule Nigeria, with this unitary system, the angel will fail. So how do you intend to solve this problem? I want to know. Thank you very much.
Okay, before you respond, because we need to go now, this is a comment on WhatsApp from Bright. He says, "Good afternoon, Dr. Reuben. I'm Bright from Igondo. I don't really think legalizing marijuana will be palatable in a country like Nigeria. The countries that legalize cannabis have good healthcare system and good rehabilitation centers, so they can easily treat patients. What will Sowore do to improve the healthcare sector in Nigeria before legalizing marijuana?" Over to you, Sowore, and it's on that note that we'll begin to thank our listeners and move on to some other program today.
Yes, thank you so much, Doc. And the person who asked that question about unitary government. I've said it, the Nigerian Constitution, the 1999 Constitution is a fraudulent document that merely repeated handing over power to a few people. That document, I'm going to go after it as president. We are going for a new constitution. That is a priority for me as president of Nigeria after 2023. And that constitution made by Nigerian people will determine the evolution of powers, it will determine federating once again. I agree with you that it's a unitary system in the hands of the center. And all those cool stuff that people discuss, which is what we can achieve not by the might of one person, but the decision of all the federating units in Nigeria to fix the Nigerian vehicle. Regarding legalization of marijuana, maybe the person didn't get me right. I'm not talking about legalizing marijuana so that people can be getting high. I'm talking about exporting what we have now. I won't even discuss whether marijuana is legal or illegal in Nigeria because it's easiest. I think it's easier to get marijuana in Nigeria than it is to buy cigarettes. So there's nothing to discuss about. I'm talking about the commercial value of our high-grade cannabis that can be used, and it's being used, by the way, every day in our daily activities. There is the cannabinoid oil now that is in existence in Nigeria. You can buy them anywhere. One bottle of it is 50,000 naira or more, and they can be used to treat arthritis. They are used in treating cancer, treating pain, very serious pain, and several other medicinal uses. So the idea of people getting high is a different level. But you mentioned the issue of investment in the healthcare sector. I think it's very important that we have a program and a blueprint for reviving the health sector. Most of our doctors have left. We have to start by retraining them, creating very standard colleges that can retrain them. I have said it before that we should go for over 600,000 nurses in the first place so that we can take care of primary health in the first place before we go into secondary and those high-level tertiary care for our people. And that will include and involve a lot of investment. So I know there's no time to discuss that here because Dr. Abati has been very nice to us by giving us more time than we should have gotten. I think we had an interactive engagement. And I think Dr. Abati talked to their colleagues in the media sector. What they did in 2019 should not be repeated in 2023, where they only gave the major political parties opportunity to speak and discuss about their lack of programs, why people like us who have got ideas to share with Nigerian people are shut out of these mainstream platforms. It's unjust, unfair, and historically would not be forgiven. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Omoyele Sowore, and thank you everyone who joined this program. I see many hands up on Zoom. I see so many comments. I lost count. Phone calls are still coming in. It's just an indication of how popular Omoyele Sowore is and how his message resonates with many people here in Nigeria. But I'd like to thank you very much, Omoyele Sowore, for taking time out to discuss the 2023 presidential election with all of us, your vision and your mission. And we hope that the elections will be conducted in a free and fair manner, because that is what is important at the end of the day. I'd like to thank all of you who joined the conversation. Remember, the conversation does not end here. You can still reach out to me on my social media account at Abati 1990. Or you can also join us on Instagram and at City1051 on all social media platforms. For those of you who tuned in late, there's no need to worry. You can visit YouTube page City1051 to watch the entire show. And when you do so, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave comments. And don't forget to tune in also next week at 12 noon for another exciting edition of City Talks. My name is Reuben Abati. The show was produced by Adedoja Allen, Charles Flames, Abiodun Odunton, Ayodamola Oludara, and Oluwaseun Adetiton. Thank you very much indeed. Have a great weekend and see you again next Saturday.